Hey guys, this is Tim. This week we're going to cover Xbox One, PlayStation 4, some Assassin's Creed 4 either misinformation or accurate information, and a lot more. So Penny says stay tuned. Hey guys, so this week, first subject's gonna be Assassin's Creed 4. So there was either a misquote or an accurate quote, depending on who you've talked to or what you've seen, where one of the software developers basically said that optimization really wasn't needed for PC because they developed on a PC. So some people took that to mean that they weren't doing any optimization for PC. Turns out Ubisoft, is saying it's a misquote, which I tend to believe because it's packaged as an NVIDIA game. And both last gen and current gen consoles are AMD chips. So if they didn't do anything to enhance it for the PC, it would actually be false advertising, because it wouldn't really be tuned for NVIDIA or physics or whatever. So the question is, how do you think this is going to affect games going forward? With the consoles mostly being able to do 1080p, although we've already seen, some Xbox One reviews where like Battlefield 4 is running in 720p and a few other things. But with 1080p now in the consoles for the most part, does that mean we're going to see more game companies that do these cross-platform ports not caring as much about the PC because they need to program down to the lowest common denominator? One of the reasons I'm excited for Mantle, which is it should allow a common platform for the API layer that developers can write against and then scale, hopefully, to the hardware, which means that, they could write a game for a high-end 290X and have it auto-scale down somehow using Mantle. We'll see if that's actually true. Obviously, the different platforms have, some differences, so it's not as easy as, you just write it for the PC and, hey, it just works everywhere. But I think, AMD was looking at this, and especially at Mantle, at, one, how can we guarantee that we're not going to get bit by a DX issue in the future? And two, how can we make it so that game developers can port games between platforms more easily, which, is a big deal. So if you believe Ubisoft, which I tend to, then no harm, no foul. However, I will say I'm not, even with the graphics cranked all the way up to maxes, I'm not actually that satisfied with the graphics quality of AC4. And maybe that's because it is on, the last generation, or the AC3 engine. But it's just not, I play Battlefield 4 on my PC, and it just looks so much better than AC4. So it's hard to tell, right? It's hard to tell if the game is just not rendering to the quality that it should be on the PC, or if it's just dumbed down because it's based off for the consoles. So that's hard to tell. Let me know what you guys think if you've been playing AC4 on the PC or on a console. Let me know what you guys think. I think it's a great game. It's, in my opinion, much better than AC3. I tend to like more of the city feel. And in my opinion, AC3 had too much outdoor, I guess this has ships and things like that. But AC3 was a lot of running through the woods, in my opinion. So I think the gameplay there suffered a little, while the storyline was still good, in my opinion. I did find it interesting that we went back in time. So, we went from the 1770s back to the past. So what do you guys think of that? And if you're playing it, what do you think of the game? I'm hooked. I've been getting no sleep because I've been way too late playing it. So that brings us nicely into consoles. PS4, Xbox One, or should you build a PC? So when consoles first launch, it's hard to build a PC that can perform as well as that console because they're designing the console for a 5 to 10 year lifespan, and they're taking a hit on profit to ship at $400 or $500. They're not making any money on those boxes. So if you could buy PC parts at cost, you could build a way better machine than those consoles. Like, just trust me, the markup on hardware is not that big, but it's enough that you could easily put together a machine that would be the same price as a $500 Xbox. So how do you guys feel? I mean, do you like the idea of being hooked into a manufacturer's experience? Do you like the fact that you only have certain options and that makes it easier to learn? Or would you like more ability to customize and do the things that you want to do? So for me personally, Steambox is that middle ground for me. So it is a PC, but there will also be, custom built machines. And maybe we'll see some streaming somehow, right? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me to see things like the NVIDIA streaming stuff start coming more and more to, other Wi-Fi enabled devices as long as the bandwidth is there. So we'll see how that goes. But to be honest with you, if I could have a PC in my basement and play on any TV in the house with a Wi-Fi controller, why wouldn't you? I mean, personally, that's what I would rather do. Because a console is not going to give you that ability. And the console, you're stuck with whatever they want you to do. So a couple of things, I know my last video was on this 5 reasons why PCs are better than consoles, why you should not buy a console in my opinion. Some stuff I didn't cover was cost of games and amount of games available. So I can go back and buy a game from 5 years ago on Steam for $2 when they're on special, right? And just because they're 5 years old doesn't mean that they're garbage. You can't go back and play older PS3 and PS4 and Xbox, original Xbox, on the new consoles, right? They're not backwards compatible because their engines aren't smart enough to figure out how to do it. So, in my opinion, that makes the PC even more valuable to me. So, like, I was just playing, Bioshock 1. Got it on sale on Steam for $4.99. You can't tell me that game, especially with the new graphics cards and the graphics quality cranked all the way up, doesn't look just as good as any console game that's out right now. Because it absolutely does. So, stuff like that. The other thing is, games tend to be cheaper for PC. There's a couple of reasons for this. One is Sony and Xbox usually, and I'll stress usually because I don't know what their requirements for the new consoles are, but usually require you to go through a validation process that costs you money. They also require you to go through a validation, and I know this is true for Xbox Live, a validation process for any patches. And both of those things cost money. So they're not free. And they're not cheap either. I mean, it's tens of thousands of dollars. So, or more. I actually don't know. I'm guessing. Could be $5, but I've read online that it's not insignificant, as especially a new game is lots and lots and lots of money for the licensing fee. So when you start thinking about it that way, if I'm a game producer, I might be able to sell a game on Steam for $49.99, and since I don't have to pay Microsoft, I just have to pay Steam, and Steam's commissions are much lower. And I don't have to make a DVD for it. I mean, big producers do, but all these indie studios don't have hard media, right? You just download it from online. They can sell it substantially cheaper. So a good example of this was NBA 2K14, which was $20 cheaper on the PC than it was for either console. That's crazy. And there's stuff like that all the time on there, especially like you can pre-order Thief right now for $44.99 on Steam. there's no way Thief comes out on a next-gen console for less than $60. Like, I'm just sorry, it's not going to. So, you can't resell the game when you're done. That's some value. However, more and more, they're putting things in the games to make them not resellable anyways, like special keys, things along those lines. Activation, like all the EA games, you have to, activate that EA Play thing to be able to do anything online. And if you use it, the guy you sell it to can't use it, and all that kind of nonsense. You don't get that stuff on the PC. And Steam is going to enable, supposedly, game trading. And you can resell some things on Steam right now. It'll be interesting to see if they ever get around to being able to sell games. Which I would imagine if they would pay the original producer of the product some commission, then I would imagine they would be up for it. But it'd be interesting to see, because when you're talking digital media, is used digital media actually a thing, right? Or do you just always own it? It's like Kindle books. Could I sell somebody a Kindle book? Well, right now, no. Maybe in the future. But, it's that kind of thing. So, in my mind, that makes the computer much more valuable. The other thing is forward compatibility. So, once the hardware standards are set for the consoles, they're going to be defaulted to that hardware footprint for the majority of their lifespan. So, there will be small upgrades, granted, but nothing major. So, you're never going to see 4K gaming out of one of these consoles unless there's a substantial change. You're never going to see 3-display gaming, surround gaming, maybe even 3D, who knows. So it'll be interesting to see in a year or 2 years, especially like 2 years down the road. I think, when Kavari comes out and some of the higher end APUs start coming out, I think you're going to see PCs be better for cheaper. Especially when if you think about it, if you could build an APU system that had better graphics quality, maybe only slightly, but better graphics quality than a console for $400, which today you can't quite. There's not enough stream processors on the A10. But with the Calvari, that's pretty much the same chip that's, the Jaguar chip. So they're very similar. You get about a little few more stream processors, and it runs faster. So, less cores though. I think both PS4 and Xbox have like 2 chips for 8 cores, or I don't know. I don't know how many cores the Calvaris are going to have either. But it'll be interesting to see 2 years from now or a year from now, next Christmas. I guarantee you I'll be able to do a build on this channel for less than $400 that will beat both of the consoles. Totally confident in stating that fact, because I don't think that, PC prices, unless, RAM goes way up again. I think RAM is just going to keep coming down once they get more fab manufacturing online. So, next Christmas, next Thanksgiving, we'll do the build off for a Steam box, a gaming PC. Sub $400, that'll be better than both consoles. So we'll see if I can do it. Now, that said, for $600, I can kill both of those consoles. So we're going to have some build videos coming up that will range between $600 and $800. And come with some free games too. So this is another thing, guys. You don't buy an Xbox for $500 and get any free games. I mean, you might get like some, stupid Kinect thing, but you're going to pay more than that for the bundle packages. So, you buy an AMD R7 260X right now, and you get 2 free games. And one of those games is Thief. Right? Granted, it doesn't come out till next year. But one of those games is Thief. That's a $60 game. And the other games you can get are $30 to $40 games. So now, take that into account that you're getting almost $100 worth of games for a $130 video card. Well, I guess $140 video card. That gives you some idea. Right there, you're taking some price down off the top. You know, the other things that you'll be able to do is, if you pick the right CPU when you're building your system, a year or two down the road, you'll be able to upgrade your graphics, right? Only for a couple $100 in the lower end cases. You don't need a $700 video card to be able to PC game. And how can I be 100% sure of that? Because millions and millions of people buy consoles. That right there tells you you don't need a $700 card to PC game. Now, is it going to look fantastic if you do? Absolutely. And that's the point. You can buy something to your budget that you design, that you choose. And isn't that what we all want? Or do you just want to be a sheep, a lemming, run off the cliff with all the other little lemmings? That's up to you. Personally, I'd rather take the little bit harder road, the little bit more expensive road, but in the end, come out with some skills. All you kids watching this, building PCs is where you start. Programming, compiling, rendering. If you don't know how to do that, when you guys graduate school, you're not going to have a job. PCs let you do this. Consoles do not. So that's my little rant. The next topic I actually wanted to talk about, which was kind of the end of that rant, was I've been getting some questions about how people can get started in the computer industry. So for me personally, I actually did internships during my summers at high school at computer stores, which are becoming less and less popular, unfortunately. I was also lucky enough to have parents that bought me a 486 when I was 16 and in high school. But I also did a lot of computer labs in high school. I did a lot of computer stuff when I was in community college. I worked at a future shop, which was like the worst job ever, but I got to sell computers and learn about computers. And that's what you have to do. You have to work on the things that an employer is going to want. And the other thing too is, guys, I know like 99.9% of you want to work in video games. Get it out of your heads. One reason is it pays way less. So there's a lot of demand for those jobs. So they are not the highest paying jobs. Maybe for like the 1% in video games, they make the big money. But for everybody else, you know, if you're just a tester or a low-level programmer or an artist, everybody wants those jobs. So they don't have to pay top dollar to get you. What you want to learn is stuff like networking, right? Being able to write protocols for network stacks, being able to write, you know, low-level API stuff. That will get you into the gaming field as well. But it'll get you in a spot where you're working on things that not everybody can do, right? I mean, you need to look around you, look in your school, look in your college, look in your high school. Look at what the other people that are around you know. If they're all learning the same thing, go learn something different. Actually, how I got my first job was I was very, very versed in NT4. And why was I very versed in NT4? Because everybody was using Windows 3.1 and I thought it was a piece of crap and I wanted to do networking. So I bought and saved up my allowance, as I'm 16, 15, saved up my allowance and bought NT, which, you know, back then was a ton of money even as a student. So I also tore apart my computer and put it back together like 25,000 times. And, you know, if you guys just want to take apart and put back together computers, there's lots of times you can find places like, you know, Boeing Surplus or Surplus stores, or, you know, places that maybe it's a Pentium 2 or a Pentium 3 and, you know, it's 10 years old, but it still kind of runs and you could put, you know, Windows 98 on it or XP or something. Buy it. It's probably only going to be 50 or 100 bucks. You'll be able to take cards in and out. You know, find ones that are, you know, more modular. Don't buy like a Dell or something that you can't take apart. But, you know, strip it completely down. Put it completely back together. clean it, learn what all the parts are, learn what all the sockets are, get an A+ book and read through that, or use the inner tubes or interwebs or whatever the hell it is. That's the kind of stuff that's going to get you jobs. Now, obviously, being very fluent in a programming language to the point where you could sit down in an office with me and I could ask you to write a function with a loop and some logic, and you could just write it out on the board and put in the error tracing and find any bugs that you might have. You're probably going to get a job that way too. Let's be honest. If you're that good of a coder that you can whiteboard code and actually know what you're talking about, then typically you'll be able to at least get an entry-level programming job, especially if you have a CS degree. The other thing I would say is college wasn't for me. I didn't do well. I made it, I was really, really bored all the time. When I was 19, I dropped out and I went to work as a contractor at a tech company. So there is that road. It's harder. Like I won't joke with any of you for a minute of how hard it has been to move my career up because I started so low. But at the same time, I do okay for somebody with no college degree. And part of that's because I get stuff done. So if you have an attitude where you're going to fix stuff, where you're going to make things better, and you know what you're doing, and you hate college, and you think it's a waste of money, or whatever your reason, stay in school, try to get a summer job, a temp summer job, and if it winds up that temp job keeps going, maybe take a quarter off school, save up some money. I mean, you can take off a quarter and still be enrolled, or take 5 credits or 3 credits or whatever it is. Take a night class and go work and see if you really like what it is you're going to school for. I think a lot of people go to college these days thinking what they want to be and have no actual practical experience in that field. You should probably check it out if you're going to spend 4 years of your life trying to learn how to do it or more. So, but my biggest advice really, guys, is take computer courses in your high school, help after school. I mean, seriously, most computer teachers, if they need somebody to go around and like reformat machines or, stuff like that, just, hey, can I TA for you, one of the periods? Can I come in after school and help you format and fix machines? Volunteer, right? Go to a Boys and Girls Club and volunteer to help them fix machines. Stuff like that. You just have to go do it. I can't help you do that. It took me a long time to learn that. You just have to have initiative and go do things. So that's what I would recommend. There's obviously other ways to get where you're going, but that was kind of my road and what worked for me, and hopefully it works for some of you. Finally, we're going to wrap up with some news, I guess, which is there will be some build videos coming. The EVGA build video is coming soon. Actually been working with MMPC Tech to get my system, the Hadron case, painted, because I'm really scared to do it myself and I want it to look good. So I could paint a case, but it's not going to look as good as I want it to look. And Bill Owens is a badass. So if I can have those guys take a look at the case for me, then it's going to be well worth whatever I have to pay them. Next is there's going to be some AMD build videos coming. So my goal is to show, what kind of graphics performance you can get for the dollar. So some of it, because I don't have any of the Intel Haswell parts, I'll use the i5 and i7 I have. But unfortunately, the new i3, which is what I really want to look at, Intel, I'm too small, so I don't get samples from Intel. Nicely, AMD has agreed to send me some processors so that I can at least do these benchmarks and see for you guys, where's that sweet spot? Because I really think that there are some games that really do take advantage of 4 or 8 cores. However, if you can buy a $100 CPU and a $200 video card, and that $100 CPU only runs at 2 or 3 frames a second less than the $200 processor, that's the kind of stuff I want to find out. Where is that sweet spot of a deal that you can build a machine somewhere between $600 and $800 and get a cherry of a machine that you should be able to upgrade the graphics in later on. So that's the goal. I have some theories about what's going to happen, but we'll see. The final thing is, thank you guys for the support. I really appreciate it. I know I've been kind of moving where I'm filming, and the lighting in here is not that great, and I'm kind of like sitting low because I need a taller stool apparently. I do appreciate all the help. I really do appreciate all the support, all the comments. You know, I'm jinxing myself a million times over by saying, you know, you guys very rarely troll me and you're very nice. I do really appreciate that. I like seeing it be civil in the comments. I like seeing people help each other. You know, that's kind of where, like, you know, Logan and Linus both have forums where people are very helpful. I really appreciate you guys, you know, keeping it civil. My video yesterday wasn't a knock on consoles. My video today is not a knock on consoles. They have their place. Like, especially if you have like 7 or 8-year-old kids that want to play Connectimals or something, right? Buy a console. It's going to be great. They're going to love it. They'll dance around the house, drive you insane. That's what consoles are for. Consoles are not, in my opinion, for serious gamers. The Kinect is hella fun, by the way. I just throw that in there. I might have to buy an Xbox One just so my wife and I can play Kinect and watch the little kids bounce around, but we'll see. It's probably a couple of years down the line, to be honest with you. But thanks really for the support. The one thing I would ask is keep sharing the videos, keep sharing the channel. The bigger I get, the easier it is for me to get parts to be able to do testing. And then that's the one thing, I fund this channel 99% with my own money. So, you know, it helps when AMD can step up and see like, oh, he's got 6,000 viewers and has done some really good videos. Let's send him some CPUs so that he can do some benchmarking, right? That's the kind of stuff that's going to be helpful long term. So, you know, if you guys know companies that you want more detailed videos on than are out there, even if they're like little podunk company guys, I don't care, right? There's a lot of companies where there's cases that are $20 that nobody has a video on and has looked at. I'm more than happy to look at that stuff if it's what you guys want, and the companies will send it to me if I don't have to buy it with my own money. And I'm more than glad to send it back to the company when I'm done. But, you know, just to get the content out there for you and let you know what I think, that's what this is all about. So please keep sharing, please keep watching. This is Tim, once again for Timmy Tech TV. We'll see you guys next time.